I would like to kind of gel two of these ideas together by asking a question.
You had a question, right?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
The question was like, do you think it's harm in the binary of feminine and masculine
When you
energy?
say define it in that way?
Yeah.
But then how?
So I would like to fuse that question with something, right? So yes, it's piggybacking on that question. So there is, let me categorize this in three ways. As sentient beings, we have knowings. And that usually takes journeying to filter out what is extraneous to you, to figure out what is your knowing, what is your sentient knowing. And tribes had ways of putting the body under pressure to filter out the other construct things, right? We've generally moved away from some of those practices and we've leaned heavily into education. So we've leaned into conditioning of the mind, molding the mind with early ideas and thoughts, right? Add that to, we live in a structural society, a structural / functional society, where these structures are determined by the functions we want these structures to face. So on one end, we might have knowings inside of us, but the pressure society exerts on us is very structural, functional ones, where you might have a knowing in you. I'm very nurturing, very kind, but my body big. So that means I will be called upon to do certain very physical things and if you are positively conditioned over years to do that, that doesn't say that knowing is deactivated, but it is recessed. So my question now is, having those two ideas in mind, do you think that the dominant traits that society reward masculinity for has some privileges attached to it that is harmful to the way we see our women?
And to add, like, to bring in more currently, and to even add to what she was saying, because she was saying how, you don't cook. And does that take away from her femininity? Like, what is the scope on which we're willing to put it on? Because then, like you said, the things that the man is rewarded for, having a stable job, big house, car, these things, is he now less masculine if he doesn't drive?
I would agree with what you're saying. As in, I would say yes. And I'll give you an example of when I was younger. When I was about 11, I moved in with my paternal grandmother, and she really find I was soft. Like from day one, I could tell she was watching me like, yo, what's Salim do here, boy? And the first day I had school, someone called me. Now, I love Maud, big up Maud, every time. Maud called me and Maud was like, whispering in my ear the first day I was going to school. No, probably like the second or third month I was in school already. I really like boys who just fighting. So your boy going to school and pick a fight, come home, rabs down, color off, all kind of thing. I going to school and know I had a man I wanted to fight all the time. When you harassing me, I come home and she rewarded me for that when I got home. You understand? When I reached home, it was the best treatment I had get from Maud. You understand? But at the same time, Maud is the person to teach me how to wash my clothes, how to steam my clothes, how to seam my pants, how to fold up over a hanger. It was the same thing. But there was something in me that triggered at that point as well, that over the years, I had to end up working it back out of my system.
I'm curious to find out how you navigate these perceived polarities as a mother of a son.
Yeah, I am so, listen, and I'll be very honest in telling you all that, it's not, I say it all the time. I don't think I'm a very maternal person. And we could establish that somehow, what that means. But I know that I would have been quite fine in my life had I not had him. I'd have been just fine. I'd have been cool, right? But he's here now, and he requires all of me. And it is so confusing for me sometimes, because I'm trying so desperately to raise him to not believe some of the things that up to this point I'm trying to get out of my head. I'm trying to get it out because I have a long way to go in terms of how I view life, how I see life, and it's because of how I was raised. I'm not saying it's bad or it's good, but it's just what it is. And at 48 years old, I'm realizing that a lot of the things that I believed and I was taught aren't really making much sense to me.
Correct.
So how do I raise this young man who is almost 9 whilst trying to figure out what's going on in here for me, and all of these things that all these societal expectations, and sometimes if I were to be honest, I could be a little harsh on him, because I too am confused as to what I should be imparting. So these things are kind of really important to be raising these conversations, because it could be very confusing for someone who's still trying to figure all of this out to be now trying to raise someone to I have a general idea what I don't want him to be, but I'm still working on me.
Yeah.
And that must be real tough because that person had to enter society now, right? And I think that's why most people lean on what they already know, because it's like, well, if I get you this, at least you go out there and you go represent in a kind of way and you go figure it out,
No, but what there's something to be said for balance though, right? And it's like you have to deal with society, so you have to deal with these things around you. How do you navigate that and still be yourself, still be kind, still be good to others, but still be able to stand up and say, don't fuck with me. We have to, that's the struggle that most parents have to find, is how do we find that balance of, I can make you tough, I can make you strong, but not to hurt other people, just to defend those who are coming to hurt you. How do we find that balance?
Benji, can you give me that in 2 minutes or less?
One, the purpose of initiation was for us to be able to find through experience who we are and our tendencies, right? Internal journey. Once you've identified internal journey, the tribe or village would then facilitate the direction. Some women are wilding women who never have children and don't live in the tribe and become the Shah women and the elders and the guides. Some will become warrior women. The Dahomey, the most elite warrior units were women units, right? The woman who taught Dessalines how to fight was his mother. Dessalines didn't learn warriorhood from no man. So there's space for everybody in the communal context if we allow it to happen. I believe that we live in a state where the children were embattled, and so we had to teach them to fight sometimes. And now we don't know how to discouple ourselves from some of the survival mechanisms. And that's, things to think about. No answers, just more questions.
While we have this conversation in our mind, I would like to invite us to listen to this song. As we're talking about the varying levels of privilege for men, revisit Sparrow, No Money, No Love, and listen to how he is describing this. We'll be back with more Full Circle. Listen.
Ivy back up, she closed to leave because John was down and out.